Welcome to another episode of the Crime Decoder. Today, we uncover another story, another truth that will shock you. He was a global icon in the world of hairdressing, charismatic, successful, and loved by many. But on a quiet January afternoon in 2017, Fabio Sementilli was found brutally murdered outside his Los Angeles home. What at first looked like a violent home invasion would unravel into one of the most shocking betrayal plots in California's history. This is not just a murder. It's a story of ambition, deception, and a twisted motive that turned love into bloodshed. Stay with us as we uncover the dark truth behind the killing of Fabio Sementilli and reveal who really stood to gain from his death. The Crime Decoder presents Who Killed Fabio Sementilli? The twisted motive behind the murder. Every once in a while, a person walks into a room and changes its entire energy. Fabio Sementilli was one of those people, whether it was a bustling hair convention in London or a quiet kitchen table in Los Angeles. Fabio lit up every space he entered. But behind that iconic smile was a man whose success story was written not in glamour, but in grit, loyalty, and passion. Born on July 13, 1967 in Toronto, Canada, Fabio grew up in a traditional Italian household. His parents, immigrants from Italy, instilled in him a powerful work ethic, strong values, and a deep love for family. From a young age, Fabio stood out not just because of his personality, but because he had a gift. He could transform someone's appearance and how they felt about themselves. He started cutting hair in his teens, first friends, then neighbors, and eventually, clients lined up to sit in his chair. He was just 16 when he enrolled in beauty school, determined to turn a side hustle into a profession. Fabio didn't just want to cut hair. He wanted to inspire. By the time he was 20, he was running his own salon. In the competitive world of beauty, he rose fast, earning accolades, magazine features, and an international following. But what made him stand out wasn't the haircuts. It was the way he made people feel. He saw hairdressing as art, as therapy, and as empowerment rolled into one. In the 2000s, Fabio joined Wella, one of the most influential hair care companies in the world. He wasn't just an ambassador, he was a bridge, a teacher, a leader. Traveling around the globe from Tokyo to Berlin, he taught thousands of stylists, not just how to cut and color, but how to build confidence in careers. He became known for his signature look, sunglasses, a stylish hat, and that big Italian grin. But under the surface, Fabio remained humble. He always brought it back to the basics: family, integrity, and heart. In 2008, after accepting a senior executive role with Wella, Fabio and his wife Monica made the big move to Los Angeles with their 3 children. It was a fresh start, a sun-soaked paradise in Woodland Hills, big backyard pool, great schools, and a tight-knit family. Fabio was the kind of dad who never missed a school play, and the kind of husband who still brought flowers home on a Tuesday. He juggled international travel with birthday parties and bedtime stories. His youngest daughter once said, professionally, Fabio mentored hundreds, many of whom credit him with saving their careers, or even their lives. He was known as a champion of underdogs and young stylists trying to break in. He created programs for student hairdressers, offered scholarships, and volunteered at beauty schools across North America. His Instagram and YouTube channels were filled with tutorials, pep talks, and inspirational messages about hard work and loving your craft. But while Fabio was shaping the future of others, his own future was about to be stolen. Behind the golden gates and picture-perfect family photos, something sinister was building, something he never saw coming. In just a few short weeks, his legacy would be shattered by the people he trusted most. January 23, 2017. Woodland Hills, California. A bright, unremarkable afternoon in an upper-class gated neighborhood. Palm trees lined the streets. The air was calm. But inside one luxury home, a scene of unimaginable horror was about to be discovered by someone least prepared to face it. That morning, Fabio Sementilli had taken the day off. He was home, relaxing by the patio, was texting colleagues, finalizing travel plans for a Wella event overseas. By all accounts, it was just another Monday. Fabio seen briefly by a neighbor around noon, sipping coffee on the deck. Monica, his wife, was supposedly out running errands. Their youngest daughter, a 16-year-old high school student, was in class. Everything about that day felt ordinary until it wasn't. At 3:11 p.m., their daughter returned home from school. She entered through the side gate. Nothing seemed wrong until she stepped onto the back patio. There, sprawled face down near the outdoor hot tub, was her father, bleeding, up, motionless. Stab wounds across his neck, shoulders, and back. Blood soaked the stone tiles, and worst of all, he was already cold. A 911 call was made. "He's not moving, there's so much blood, I think my dad is dead." The LAPD arrived within minutes. Officers quickly secured the scene. Fabio was declared dead at the scene. No sign of a pulse, no defensive wounds indicating a struggle, just a silent, bloody execution. Local and national news swarmed the neighborhood. Top beauty executive murdered in quiet Woodland Hills home headlines. Images of Fabio flooded the media, smiling. Family man, mentor. Within hours, the tragedy became headline news. The brutal death of a well-known industry icon. An upscale home, a gated street, and no clear motive. Initial speculation pointed to a home invasion, a burglary that escalated, an intruder perhaps startled, turning violent. It made sense at first. LAPD confirmed Fabio had been stabbed over a dozen times. A few drawers had been left ajar inside the house, but nothing valuable was taken. At first glance, it fit the script: bloody murder in a wealthy neighborhood. But within 24 hours, the puzzle began falling apart. Red flag number 1. There were no signs of forced entry, none. No broken locks, no pried doors, no shattered windows. Whoever entered was let in, or had access. Red flag number 2. Fabio's expensive Porsche keys in the ignition was still in the driveway. Why would a burglar leave behind a $100,000 getaway car? Red flag number 3. The house had a top-tier surveillance system, but that day all the footage had been wiped clean, erased. Whoever did this knew about the cameras. They either had inside knowledge or help from someone who did. No valuables missing. Very clean crime attacker left no weapon. Blood patterns suggest Fabio was ambushed from behind. The stabbing was clinical targeted. The wounds were concentrated and swift. This wasn't a panicked burglar. This was a silent assassin. Detectives began suspecting something far darker than robbery. This wasn't random. This was personal. FBI behavioral analysts were brought in. So their conclusion? The killer was comfortable in the space. Unhurried, confident, there was no fear of being caught. That confidence told investigators one thing: the killer wasn't a stranger. The killer was someone close. As per protocol, Fabio's wife Monica was questioned. She told police she'd been out running errands during the estimated time of the murder. Her story was calm, consistent, and emotional, but something didn't sit right. Detectives noticed Monica showed no signs of shock, no tears, and no questions about who could have done it. Then came a breakthrough. Fabio's phone records, his last messages, his call log, and a strange name that kept popping up: Robert Baker. Monica had been calling and texting Baker extensively, sometimes late at night. Fabio had exchanged a few short texts with Baker as well. Baker's name wasn't on any family contact list. Who was Robert Baker? And what was his connection to Fabio and Monica? As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a twisted connection and a motive more shocking than anyone could have imagined. The truth wasn't just dark, it was devastating. To the outside world, Fabio and Monica Sementilli were a dream couple, successful, stylish, 3 beautiful children. It's a $1 million home in a quiet Los Angeles neighborhood. He was the loving father and international icon. She was the glamorous wife who seemed to have it all. But behind those manicured hedges and picture-perfect family portraits, a different story was unraveling. One the world never saw coming. The Sementillis had become a staple of the LA elite. They hosted dinners, attended high-profile events, and rubbed shoulders with industry celebrities. Fabio's social media showcased a devoted husband, a man constantly traveling but always rushing back home to Monica and the kids. But detectives would soon discover that behind the carefully curated Instagram feed, the foundation was cracking. The first signs came in the form of financial strain. Fabio, though well compensated, often expressed frustration to close friends about Monica's spending. High-end handbags, private trainers, cosmetic procedures. and all the trappings of a Beverly Hills lifestyle they technically couldn't afford. Multiple credit cards near max limit. Monica seen at luxury boutiques weekly. Fabio started traveling more, not just for work, but for space. They argued often, sometimes loudly. Neighbors reported overhearing shouting matches late into the night. But the fights were always followed by apologies and silence. In 2012, Fabio increased his life insurance coverage, reportedly at Monica's suggestion. The policy was worth $1.6 million. Monica was the sole beneficiary. At the time, it raised no suspicions. After all, they had kids, a mortgage. It made sense. But in retrospect, it looked more like a setup than a safeguard. And then came the bombshell. Through digital forensics and surveillance, detectives uncovered a deeply buried secret. Monica was having an affair. It's the man's name, Robert Baker. 10 years younger than Monica, this convict with a record of armed assault, met Monica at a local gym in early 2016. Their connection was intense, toxic, obsessive. Friends described their relationship as reckless and unstable. They'd break up, then get back together. But through it all, one thing remained constant. Their desire to be together without Fabio. While Fabio was traveling for work, Monica and Baker were building their own twisted world. Thousands of texts, secret meetings, even hotel stays, all funded through Fabio's credit cards. And in those messages, chilling clues emerged. References to starting over. Monica texting, "Soon, baby. Patience." Mentions of the problem being solved. To investigators, the implication was clear. Fabio wasn't just an obstacle. He was the problem, and they were planning his removal. The texts between Monica and Baker painted a story of manipulation, lust, and an escalating conspiracy. The most damning messages came in December 2016, just weeks before the murder. Monica sent Baker a picture of Fabio sunbathing in the backyard. The caption, "Target practice." That's when police knew. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a blueprint for murder. Who was Robert Baker? Born in 1976, Robert Baker had a long criminal record, convicted for assault with a deadly weapon in 2001, spent nearly a decade in and out of prison. Claimed to have turned his life around, became a personal trainer, but Baker's rage hadn't vanished. It had only learned how to hide, and Monica knew exactly how to manipulate it. This wasn't your typical affair. Monica had control. She dangled the promise of a new life. She weaponized love, and Baker fell for it. She was older, powerful, and promised him everything: money, a home, freedom. But there was one condition. Fabio had to disappear. What makes this betrayal even more devastating is that Fabio never suspected. He believed in loyalty, in forgiveness. He often told friends he wanted to make things work for the kids. He was trying to save a marriage that had already become a death sentence. In the weeks before his death, he booked a surprise vacation for the family. He even posted a heartfelt video on social media, thanking Monica for standing by him all these years. In January 2017, Baker began stalking the Sementilli home. Cameras captured a shadowy figure parked a few blocks away for hours at a time. He memorized Fabio's routine, knew when he was alone, knew when the security system would be off. On the morning of January 23rd, while Monica was out shopping, Baker slipped through the gate, and Fabio never saw him coming. It was the final betrayal in a story soaked in deceit. The death of Fabio Sementilli shocked Los Angeles. But what investigators would uncover next was even more chilling than the crime itself. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't a random act. This was a betrayal, forged in silence, rehearsed in secrecy, and executed with horrifying precision by the people he trusted the most. Detectives started with Monica Sementilli's phone. Thousands of text messages between her and Robert Baker, spanning over 18 months. What they found wasn't just flirtation, it was planning. Overt, deliberate planning. Messages referencing times Fabio would be home alone. Mentions of cameras, insurance, timing. Conversations about gloves, disguises, and escape routes. This wasn't the language of love. It was the language of assassination. By mid-2016, Monica and Baker weren't just lovers, they were co-conspirators. They mapped out Fabio's routines, his travel schedules, even the layout of the house. Monica provided insider knowledge, security codes, blind spots, passwords. We found hand-drawn diagrams, notes about when the dog would be out, It wasn't impulsive, it was meticulous. In a cruel twist of fate, Fabio actually knew Robert Baker. Monica had introduced them. Fabio even considered hiring Baker as a personal trainer. At one point, Fabio texted Baker about setting up a gym routine. "Thanks, bro," he wrote. "Appreciate you helping out." He had no idea the man he was texting was planning to kill him. There's a level of sociopathy here that's rare. Monica and Baker weren't just plotting a murder. They were manipulating Fabio to make it easier to carry out. The plan was detailed down to the minute. Monica would leave the house, providing Baker a 2-hour window. He would enter through the back using a key Monica provided, or an unlocked gate, and confront Fabio by the pool. Use of gloves to prevent fingerprints. Carrying a change of clothes, avoiding surveillance blind spots, Fabio was ambushed. Struck from behind. Stabbed multiple times in the upper back and neck. The coroner would later describe the attack as vicious, yet strangely controlled. To mislead police, Monica and Baker staged a fake burglary. A few drawers left open upstairs, a laptop missing but later found in Monica's car. A side gate slightly ajar. But detectives weren't fooled. Nothing valuable was taken. No electronics, no jewelry. Fabio's wallet was untouched. His Porsche was still in the driveway. The killer had zero interest in stealing, only killing. When police arrived, Monica appeared distraught. She cried. She hugged her daughter. She asked all the right questions. But 2 trained investigators. It all felt rehearsed. Behind the tears, though, there was one glaring contradiction. Monica never once asked whether anything had been taken. For a so-called robbery, she didn't seem remotely concerned about the house. Then came the financial trail. Days after Fabio's murder, Monica began inquiring about his life insurance payout. She contacted the insurance company multiple times in the span of 1 week. It wasn't subtle. Detectives now had motive, means, and a pattern of behavior that pointed in one direction: murder for money and love. Baker fled the scene on foot. Surveillance later captured him several blocks away wearing a different shirt, his jacket in a gym bag. He disappeared for 48 hours, then resumed his normal routine as if nothing happened. But mistakes were made. Baker's DNA was found under Fabio's fingernails. A trace fiber on the pool chair matched the gym bag he left in Monica's car. And then came the biggest piece of evidence, the phone pings. Monica claimed she hadn't been home all day, but her phone pinged near the house at 1:14 p.m. The exact time detectives estimated the murder occurred. Baker's phone pinged near Fabio's house at the same time, and again, several miles away, an hour later following the escape route. Monica had previously searched on Google Maps. It was like watching a murder in 4K. We didn't need a confession. Phones told us everything. Throughout it all, Monica remained the puppet master. Texts revealed her coaching Baker on what to say, how to behave, even how to clean his clothes. She warned him when the insurance investigation was tightening. She reminded him not to say too much. Stay strong. We're almost there. Almost there meant $1.6 million in blood money and a new life in Mexico. They planned it down to the second. But even the perfect murder can collapse under pressure. In the days following Fabio Sementilli's murder, the LAPD Major Crimes Unit began piecing together a fractured picture: cell phone data, digital footprints, security camera footage, and behavior that just didn't sit right. They didn't have confessions. They didn't have a murder weapon. But what they did have was a trail. And every breadcrumb pointed back to Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker. Detectives secured subpoenas for cell phone records, Monica's, Baker's, and even Fabio's. When they overlaid the GPS pings, one truth became undeniable. Monica's alibi was a lie. Monica claimed to be shopping during the murder. Her phone pinged just 900 feet from the house at 1:14 p.m., the estimated time of death. Baker's phone traced a path directly from the Sementilli home to a nearby alleyway where bloody clothing was later found. Monica and Baker had wiped the home's security cameras clean. But they hadn't accounted for the neighborhood. Police canvassed nearby homes and retrieved several crucial videos. One video showed Baker's car circling the neighborhood at least 3 times the morning of the murder. Another showed him at a gas station minutes afterwards, sweating, glancing around nervously. Footage from a sporting goods store revealed something more damning. Surveillance from 2 weeks prior showed Baker purchasing gloves, a hoodie, and a combat-style knife, exact kind believed to have killed Fabio. The real game changer came when the crime lab called. DNA found under Fabio's fingernails, defensive traces, invisible to the eye, matched Robert Baker. And that match wasn't just close, it was conclusive. Fabio had fought back. He didn't go quietly, and in doing so he left behind the clue that cracked the case open. It was like a fingerprint made of blood. You can't argue DNA. Monica was called in for multiple rounds of questioning. At first she played the grieving widow, but each time her story shifted. Initially said she was out shopping all afternoon. Later admitted she may have returned home briefly. Couldn't explain why her phone pinged near the house. Didn't know where Baker was that day until shown surveillance of them together 2 days earlier. By the third interview, Monica stopped crying. She started sweating. Baker was harder to crack. Cold, calculated. For hours, he denied everything. But under pressure, his mask slipped. That moment was key. He didn't confess, but he cracked. He went silent. And silence in this case was deafening. With a judge's order, LAPD tapped Monica's phone. What they heard left no doubt. Monica asking a friend if the cops could read old texts. Whispered conversations with Baker about sticking to the story. At one point, Monica says, "They can't prove anything, not unless someone talks." But someone had talked. The data, the DNA, the surveillance, and now the wiretaps. Monica was a narcissist with financial stress. Baker was an ex-con with abandonment issues. Together, they created a deadly cocktail of lust, rage, and greed. Monica didn't stab Fabio, but she created the motive, the means, and the momentum. Baker pulled the knife. Monica handed it to him. On June 15, 2017, 5 months after the brutal murder of Fabio Sementilli, the truth could no longer hide. Monica Sementilli and her lover, Robert Baker, were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. The world gasped, not just because of the crime, but because of who was behind it. It happened almost simultaneously. Monica was arrested at the home she once shared with Fabio. Officers entered quietly, calmly, and handcuffed her in front of her children. Robert Baker was taken into custody while working out handcuffed beside a treadmill. In her booking photo, Monica stared blankly into the camera. No tears, no apology. Just detachment. News of the arrest hit like a bomb. Across Los Angeles, across Canada, across the beauty industry, shock, disbelief, and betrayal rippled through the community. Headlines read, "Wife accused in hair icon's murder." Fabio's death was no accident. No one saw it coming. Monica, she was always by his side, smiling at events, standing in the front row. It's like the world flipped upside down. Major networks covered the arrests. Live. Tabloids ran sensational headlines. Lust and greed in LA, the scissors and the stab wound. Fabio's smiling face appeared on news loops across North America. Social media exploded. Twitter trended with hashtag Justice for Fabio. Supporters, stylists, former students of Fabio posted tributes expressing rage and heartbreak. The greatest tragedy beyond even the murder was the aftermath for Fabio's children. 3 young lives shattered. Their father was dead, or now their mother was in handcuffs. They weren't just victims, they were survivors, forced to navigate grief, betrayal, and trauma all at once. The youngest daughter discovered the body. All 3 children were placed under the guardianship of relatives. Court filings later showed emotional distress, therapy, and psychiatric care. Back in Canada, the pain echoed even louder. Fabio's family released a public statement filled with heartbreak and disbelief. They were devastated. Fabio was a light in their lives, an amazing son, brother, and father. To know his life was taken in such a calculated, evil way was something they will never understand. They stood by the investigation and trust that justice will be served. Fabio deserved better. The professional beauty world responded in unison. Salons from Canada to Italy to Brazil held moments of silence. Wella professionals released an official tribute, praising Fabio as a visionary, a mentor, and a soul that lit up every stage he touched. Hundreds gathered at Fabio's memorial in Los Angeles. Candles, scissors, and photos lined the stage. Emotional speeches from mentees and stylists he had helped over decades. Monica's image crumbled. Once seen as the supportive wife, stylish, poised, The picture of loyalty, she was now viewed as the orchestrator of a murder plot driven by greed and passion. Monica and Baker charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and special circumstances. Prosecutors labeled the crime cold-blooded, premeditated, and without remorse. Bail was denied for both. Prosecutor believed they had strong evidence showing this was a carefully executed plan motivated by greed and a desire to eliminate an obstacle. That obstacle was Fabio. For those who knew Fabio personally, the betrayal was more than just a crime, it was a wound. A violation of the trust and goodness he offered to those around him. He wasn't just a victim of murder. He was a victim of proximity, killed not by a stranger, but by the one person he vowed to spend his life with. By the time Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker entered the courtroom, the world had already decided they were guilty. But in the justice system, guilt isn't about opinion. It's about what can be proven and what can be defended. What followed was a years-long legal saga full of delays, deception, and a defense strategy that shocked even the most seasoned prosecutors. The road to trial was long and agonizing. Originally scheduled for 2019, the case faced endless delays. COVID-19 halted in-person hearings. Defense motions slowed proceedings. Mental health reviews, evidentiary hearings, requests for separate trials. Monica's team argued for time to complete complex psychological assessments. From the start, Monica pleaded not guilty. She denied involvement, denied premeditation, denied everything. To her, she was a grieving widow caught in a terrible storm. But the evidence painted a different picture, and Monica knew it. Baker too pleaded not guilty. His defense, that Monica manipulated him, that she weaponized his love and left him to take the fall. In a shocking move, Monica's legal team began pointing the finger at Baker, the very man she once called her soulmate. The narrative shifted. Baker had a violent past. Monica was allegedly afraid of him. She claimed he acted on his own. She even implied he may have killed Fabio to punish her. It was jarring. One moment she was the victim of an evil man. The next, she was accusing him of controlling her. It was like a chess game with no moral pieces. Fabio's family traveled from Canada, from Italy, from across the world to speak in his memory. Friends recounted his kindness. Former co-workers remembered his mentorship. His children, now teenagers, sat silently, the weight of the courtroom pressing down on them. In late 2022, Robert Baker changed his plea. He agreed to plead no contest to one count of first-degree murder and admitted under oath that he participated in the killing of Fabio Sementilli. His admission was clear. He helped plan the murder, he carried it out, and he was promised a life with Monica in return. Baker's plea meant one thing. Monica was now alone in her fight. No backup, no co-conspirator to hide behind. In a chilling signed confession, submitted to the court, Baker wrote, "Monica and I discussed killing Fabio multiple times. She promised me that we'd be together forever. She said once he was gone, the money would be ours. It was the final nail in the coffin, and it came from the man who had once said he loved her." Monica's time on the stand was tense. Her story shifted. Under pressure, her memory faltered. Couldn't explain deleted messages. Couldn't explain the timing of her errands. Couldn't explain why Baker was in the neighborhood the day of the murder. Her defense argued mental manipulation. Claimed Monica was emotionally cornered. They painted Baker as a predator. But with every cross-examination, every timeline mismatch, and every forensic detail, the jury saw something else. A woman who planned a murder and tried to escape it. On the final day of testimony, Fabio's eldest daughter spoke. Her words didn't need legal jargon, just truth. As the closing arguments wrapped, the courtroom was silent. Jurors watched every moment. They knew what was at stake. Justice doesn't always come quickly. But when it does, it demands to be seen. In late 2023, nearly 7 years after Fabio Sementilli was murdered, Monica Sementilli stood in court. Facing a moment she had long delayed, but it wasn't a trial. There would be no jury, no testimony, no public defense of her actions. Instead, she accepted a plea deal. 25 years to life in prison. No trial. No apologies. No justice, at least. Not the way many had hoped. After years of delays, legal maneuvering, and shifting narratives, Monica chose not to go to trial. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty in a prolonged court battle, she pleaded no contest to first-degree murder. Her co-conspirator, Robert Baker, had already done the same months earlier. Together, they were now sentenced, but separately, they would face their own justice. We believe the sentence reflects the severity of the crime. While it will never undo the pain, it ensures Monica Sementilli will spend decades behind bars. The response was divided. Some hailed the plea deal as closure. Others called it a cop-out. For Fabio's family, there was relief, but no resolution. Today, Monica Sementilli is serving her sentence at the Central California Women's Facility, the largest women's prison in the United States. Restricted communication. No access to her children. No public remorse issued. Robert Baker is housed at a separate facility, locked away with a minimum of 25 years before eligibility for parole. Together, they remain behind bars. But outside, the emotional wounds remain wide open. For Fabio's children, the pain is daily. Their father is gone. Their mother betrayed them all. No amount of sentencing can bring back birthdays, graduations, or quiet family dinners. One of his daughters reportedly attends therapy regularly. Another has become an advocate for domestic crime victims. Their strength born from unimaginable loss. But beyond the courtroom and prison walls, Fabio's legacy continues. His name is honored at international hair shows. Wella professionals established the Fabio Sementilli Mentorship Award for young stylists. Tributes pour in every January on the anniversary of his death. He left behind more than talent. He left behind hope. For his clients, for his students, for his family. Yet he also left behind a haunting question. How could the person closest to him, the one who vowed to love and protect, be the one to orchestrate his death? It's a question that may never be answered. But one thing remains certain. Fabio's light didn't die on that patio in 2017. It lives in every story told, every young stylist he inspired, and every soul brave enough to demand truth in the face of betrayal. This case reminds us that even the brightest lives can be extinguished by the darkest motives. Fabio Sementilli deserved more than betrayal. He deserved truth, loyalty, and peace. If you found this episode revealing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.